Hello grade 9s, it seems like we definitely need a bit more time on tree diagrams. So I got this video put together for you, and in this video it's not an Edpuzzle, so you're gonna have to pause, but they're gonna be places where you definitely need to pause to get stuff down. Okay, so let's work through and get blown away here. So okay, let's start with our beloved coin toss, and then we can look at something like maybe rolling a die. So all we're going to do is toss the coin once, and we're quite familiar with this. We toss the coin and there are two options. So one question that we have in mathematics is, how can we show this? How can we describe this? We could use words and say, if you toss the coin, you have two options. The one is heads, the one is tails. But how can we visually show this? If you think to the back of the classroom, they're visual pathways and they're quite powerful. So one way we could do it is by drawing two options to say, if we're starting over here and we're tossing our coin, we could either toss a head or we could toss a tail. And that seems to be a nice way or good way to explain what's happening here. We're tossing our coin. There are two options. You could either get a head or you could get a tail. Cool. And then this is probability after all, so we talked probabilities to say, well, what's the probability of this happening with a fair coin? In other words, it's not weighted, it's going to land fairly. Well, our probability of getting a head we've been through is a half, and probability of getting a tail is a half. So that would be one way of showing it. Okay, so forget the first coin toss, doesn't matter anymore. Here we go. I'm going to toss the coin. Okay, there, that diagram still holds. Heads or tails, probability that this is a head is a half. And it did happen to be a head. So now, let's just interrogate our tree diagram with two branches. And say, we're starting out here. And ask you, what's the probability? Let's go for this in yellow to say, what's the probability of getting a head? So P of head, probability of getting a head. Well, I know that you're just going to say it's a half, it's there already. But let's look at our diagram and try and match this with our diagram, because it's going to help when we have compound events, when we have more than one event. Starting out here, because that's our starting point, which path are we taking? Well, we're going along here to get to heads. So the probability of getting a head along that branch is a half. Okay, let's do it again with something like tails. What's the probability of getting tails? Well, starting here, let's look at our diagram. We know that the probabilities are half, that's fine. But using our diagram, let's see if we can walk our way along it. So we're starting here, and we're saying the probability of getting tail is, we're going here, and what are we getting? A tail, so our probability is just a half. Sneaking there just below my head, I think. No, it should just be in place right here. Okay, now let's look at something maybe a little bit different with the same tree diagram. What's the probability? It's going green. What's the probability of getting a head or getting a tail? Well, I'm tossing the coin. One of those things must happen. Remember, we're saying it's not landing on its side, it's landing heads or tails. So what's the probability of one of those things happening? It's a certainty, right? So it must be 1. Okay, but let's look at our diagram, because our diagram's going to hold the key to understanding the more complicated diagrams. So I'm going to rub these bits out and say, let's just look at this to say, right, we're still starting here at the beginning. But which branch are we going along, heads or tails? Well, either of them. So I don't know, I don't have a multi-drawing tool, but it would be nice if I could say we could either go that way or that way. So we're going there or that way, we're going there for heads, or we're going that way, heads or tails. I'm sure if I got imaginative, I could somehow make that go out. But hopefully you get the idea that we're going along either of these branches. We can get ahead, so we can go for that half. So we've got that half, which relates to the head that we had before. So that maybe we could do that and say that's the half like we had before. Or, so we're going to add in, because something else could happen, so surely there's more of a probability, so we should add. So we're going to add, or we could have got this tail. So we could have got this half down here, because we know that the probability of getting a half is a probability of getting a half, probability of getting a tail is a half. Okay, so a half plus a half, that gives us our 1. That's just hopefully, which way do I need to move? This way. I don't actually have the video in front of me, but I've made marks to try and not cover up the video as I've done before, or the writing. So it should be about here, is my guess. Okay, so anyway, just to give you the insight into the background here. So the probability is 1. In other words, it's a certainty. But much more importantly, what we said was that we could either go along this path to get ahead, or we could go along this path to get a tail. And what did we do? We added those probabilities. Okay, so that's simple, one event, heads and tails. I want to pause it here and make these as individual videos.